A narrative-driven strategy game that merges the depth of space opera with the complexity of 4X gameplay. In the Pegasus expedition then, players are tasked with leading humanity's desperate attempt to find a new home in the Pegasus galaxy, away from an impending alien threat on Earth. Now, throughout my time with this game, I spent most of it focusing on the main campaign. The narrative there is integrated with the gameplay, at least to some extent, and each event and decision made by the player can influence the strategic landscape, creating a somewhat interactive experience. Also, this video is sponsored, so my thanks to Fulcrum Publishing for reaching out to me. The Pegasus expedition then, like all good 4X grand strategy games, focuses on a variety of different aspects. Diplomacy, trade and alliances are all important here, in addition of course to science, research and combat. Diplomacy is a significant aspect of the game. Interactions with alien factions are judged based on player actions, and these can shape the political landscape of the Pegasus galaxy. Ultimately, this concept is pretty simple. Make too many aggressive or bad decisions, and the other factions will soon turn against you or come to see you in a rather bad light. So whilst the concept here is rather simple, in execution it can weave a very tangled political web. In short, the complexity arrives from a few simple parts, and this is really intriguing. Now, the game's economy is also relatively straightforward, with a few key resources necessary for building ships and system improvements. The planets under player control can play a role in the strength of the fleet and progression of the story. In a little bit, we'll get onto a bit of a playthrough of the game, so you'll see that in action. In short though, planets are extremely important, as you can build a variety of structures there, from shipyards to settlements to material mines and many other things besides. Elsewhere, the Pegasus expedition incorporates strategic and tactical elements. It offers a streamlined experience where tactical decisions can have a strategic and political outcome. So, for example, you may decide to take a particular star system that is being held by a friendly faction or a faction that is currently indifferent to you. This in turn will have political effects and may cause you some trouble with the other factions of the galaxy that have up until this point completely ignored you. Although that said, some of these rather negative outcomes can at times at least be resolved with diplomacy. What's more, diplomacy can be fairly powerful. You can kind of expand your empire through the use of diplomacy, sometimes trading star systems for other things such as free trade, scientific research or other aspects. But as with all true empires, expansion really comes through conflict, and the Pegasus expedition provides a combat system where planning really is crucial. Again, we'll see this in action in just a bit. To sum up then, this very brief overview before we get into the gameplay. The Pegasus expedition is a game where choices and consequences, strategy and survival are all intertwined with each other. It's a 4X grand strategy game where player decisions can have a tangible impact upon the narrative. Now, let's get into that playthrough. I'll focus on the first chapter of the Pegasus expedition's main campaign, and there will be a few edits here just to keep the video informative and, to not go too long. So, the game starts with a brief cutscene explaining to you the context of the game's history. I won't go through the cutscene here because it is a little bit on the long side, but I'll give you a brief summary. So, Earth has come under attack by a load of aliens. They're an overwhelming force, basically threatening all of humanity. Humanity, therefore, has had to leave the solar system and look for an alternative to survive. The main bulk of the forces of Earth remain back in the solar system. However, 3 different factions have left to try and find an alternative. Maybe another place to colonize, or maybe some help to bring back. Throughout this campaign, we play as a Zeus Link fleet, which is one of these 3 factions. Now, a bulk of the story is dictated through these little interactive text and cutscenes. 4 main characters are talking here, and we do have some choices as to how this discussion progresses, and this will have some impact on the direction we take during the campaign. So, in short, these 3 factions of humanity have left the Milky Way and entered the Pegasus galaxy through a portal. We now need to set up shop here. We need to try and colonize or find some sort of resources. It's also of the utmost importance to protect the star system with the porthole in it so that other forces can come through, or I guess we can return through it when and as needed.
9 hours in the Pegasus galaxy, and we were at war. They didn't fire warning shots. And we weren't going to take it lying down.
Now, unfortunately, things don't go as planned, and humanity have fled one enemy straight into the laps of another enemy. The Pegasus galaxy is inhabited, and, well, things just aren't going to be all that easy. So here we are then in the Zoka star system, and immediately we find ourselves in conflict. Now, combat within the game is represented on a star system overview map, and we conduct the conflict via our fleers. Right now, we're figuring out how to deploy that fleet. In our current selection, this fleet will be split into 4 different groups, and you can see how they were entered this star system, represented by the blue numbers. The enemy is represented by the red, orangish glowing orbs, the yellow glowing orbs, and you can see we can rotate the selection here to determine where we will deploy our fleet. But what I want to do is, well, overwhelm this enemy en masse. So we're going to split our fleet into 3 groups and deploy them all against one enemy grouping. Right here we can choose how we want to attack, and we'll get into more details on that in just a moment, but right now we're going to start combat. Now, I also want to point out that I've played through Chapter 1 of the Pegasus expedition numerous times and really got quite a good feel for how things play out. But for this video I did reset the tutorials to make sure they're enabled so that I can get some better context to give you for the various game systems. So here we can see how that battle is progressing. Our forces are the blue whitish orbs, and we're fighting the yellow orange orbs and pretty much overwhelming them. We did deploy en masse after all. On the left of the screen you can see the breakdown of our fleet. The blue lines represent ships that haven't taken any damage. The orange lines are ships that have taken damage. On the right, in the orange blocks, we can see the enemy forces, and one group has been defeated, the other group has retreated. And then we come straight back to this little story-driven narrative here that, well, gives us some context as to what's going on. So what the hell is going on, says the Grand Admiral. We've made contact with something. It appears sentient, perhaps somewhat humanoid, and operates heavily armed space vessels. They fired on sight and we returned fire. We destroyed a small unit in the Zoka system, probably a garrison. So, whatever they are, we are now at war with them. What would you do if an unidentified fleet appeared out of nowhere in your star system? They must be terrified right now. I just hope we didn't start something irreversible. It is unfortunate, but I do not see how we could have done anything differently. So this is generally how the story unfolds. We can now make a little bit of a choice here. I don't think at this point it has too much impact on the way the story unfolds, but nonetheless we can get a little bit involved in this conversation. Now, I'm not going to read out every single cutscene because the length of the video would get very long indeed, but I just want to give you a taster of how this plays out. Let's move on. We find ourselves now then at what is the main game screen, pretty much the galaxy map. We can see over there the Raw Clan are the ones that, just attacked us, and they have a number of star systems, and we can see their territory represented by the orange marked off grid. You can also see that different star systems have different capabilities. So Shiko'o is habitable. A bunch of others over here you can see are buildable, and some are barren. All of these stats affect what we can do with the star system. We'll find out more of that in just a moment. Right now though, we're going to end the turn, and we can see that 2 other factions from humanity have now turned up and taken some of the Raw Clan territory. There's now 3 of us here. We're pretty much allies at this point. I'm not sure if that changes later into the story, but throughout Chapter 1 we all seem pretty much on friendly terms. The aliens though are none too happy at our presence. Chapter 1, The Shiny New Horizon.
This was it. We were here with very limited time and nearly endless pressure from home. For better or worse, this was our final plan. We would soon get to see how it would play out.
Okay, so there's another narrative-driven dialogue scene here, but we are going to skip over it, but I wanted to let you know that this does exist and give you a feel for how the game actually works and plays out. In short, the Zeus Link fleet are none too happy at the presence of aliens here. We don't really want to go and start another war, and we don't really want to go and take territory from other groups, but this alien faction did start the conflict, even though I guess we randomly appeared in their territory, and we're now going to press forward and try and make a second home away from the Milky Way. On the right then, we've got the overview map, and we can see the two allies. We can see our fleet, which is currently in conflict by the looks of it, and we've got two systems under the economy tab. Currently, these 2-star systems are unbuilt. They do have upgrades available, however. We can't select them on this turn, those upgrades, because this is the initial turn, so we're going to have to deal with this conflict over here in this star system. We're going to jump straight into this fight then. I'll get more into those details at the top of the screen in an upcoming fight. So with the tutorials selected here, we can see that we've got the battle formation strategies at the top. Our strategy plan: by choosing your plan, you determine the manner in which your fleet will fight to control the system, and how much resources you are going to use and expand. Strategy morality: here you can determine the morality of your strategy in the coming battle. By any means necessary, it allows the usage of our most devastating weaponry, but engaging in such egregious warfare too much will cause you to be recognized as a rogue state, and that is a threat to everyone in the Pegasus galaxy. Minimal casualties has the opposite effect, but this approach forces us to tone down our arsenal to our most humane weaponry, and in doing so will, well, slow down the combat. We've got some interrupts down here, which are some additional capabilities, but these too can, well, cause problems with our reputation amongst the galaxy. Now you can see in this case that the enemy are well spread out, and that means we're not going to just be able to drop in as we did en masse previously. We're going to have to spread our fleet up and split it into smaller groups. In the centre of the map here you can see the command station. I'm going to try and keep away from that as much as possible. Generally speaking, that does have slightly more powerful weaponry than the various fleets dotted around. That looks like the best we're going to do. We're going to go with a cautious advance for now, I think. Yeah, maybe assault and hold. No, we go with cautious advance and go with a neutral morality. And in come our fleet groupings here. Hopefully this should go pretty well. And yes, we can see we're overwhelming them very, very quickly. Victory imminent. But that's all good. We've got some interrupts above the planets there where we can drop missiles onto the planets, and if we choose by any means necessary, we could even drop nukes or radiation down on the planet. That will damage the planet, so I'd like to avoid that if possible. It also gives us that bad reputation within the galaxy. Overall, the combat at the top is going very well in our favour. We're down to 88% in total there, just 12% losses, whereas the enemy on the other hand is nearly down to nearly lost 75% of their overall fleet. Once they hit 25%, they will attempt to retreat. And there we go, we're now getting victory and have claimed this second star system. If a fleet wins a conflict while attacking, it neutralizes the system, and it will be captured if the system can be held for a turn, after which that faction can be build in that system. So yeah, we should be able to start building there very soon. Now, we're still on our second turn here, but we do have a few more fights to drop into. This is where the previous enemy fled to. You can see we're massively overwhelming the forces here, the enemy forces. So we are going to go into a tight formation. This system's defenders have grouped together in a defensive formation. We should, well, basically do the same. So we are going to do that, and we're just going to attack one of the groups. Which one should we go for? We go for this one because it's further away from the enemy command beacon. We keep the same plan and the same morality, and I'm sure we'll overwhelm this very, very quickly because these are the ones who fled from the previous fight, and there's really not many of them here. And there we go, that's going pretty well, very, very quickly. We're getting shot at from the command base. That is having a bit of an impact on our own forces, but nothing too dramatic. Now, it's all important that you do choose the right deployment, because if you choose the incorrect deployment, and this took me a while to actually figure out, if you choose the incorrect deployment, you will take a lot of damage and even end up losing, even against some of the more weaker forces. Okay, so we now own the Moram system. As this is turn 2, the game is automatically making a few moves for us. It's moved the fleet into the Buildable system, and we're going to have to get into a battle here as well. So these, to all intents and purposes, are kind of tutorial missions. The game will explain to you what you've got to do at this point during the campaign. And this is a really nice touch, because it eases you in to the combat a little bit more gently than you otherwise might experience it. Okay, so in the Buildable system here we've got a fleet, and we can see that by selecting that fleet we bring up a combat tab. Meanwhile, if we select a different fleet, that doesn't happen and we get a breakdown of that fleet. So what we're going to do is select this fleet here. We can see an overview there, 162 versus 58. In this battle then, we're going to go for the option of by any means necessary. To be honest, we'd probably be okay without doing that, as these enemy forces are in a weakened state. But there are some command beacons here, and there's quite a few ships. So just to give this a try out, we'll go for a lightning strike. This costs us resources of 700 material and 100 units of rare earth. Our resources are at the top left of the screen. So immediately we're diving into the combat here. We're winning the battle. You can see we've got the option to deploy some missiles towards the planet, some missile salvos. There's also an irradiation icon there where we can use some strategic weapons against the planet as well, and this will give us something. There we go, you can see the advantage that gave us. But doing so is a little bit of a problem, and there you go, the enemy forces are now coming over and giving us a little bit of problems. So we probably chose the right option here by going for by any means necessary. You can see our fleet is in pretty poor shape now. It's bashed up quite badly. So now that we have a bit more of the Zoka system Dr. N so passionately dislikes, we should do something useful with them. I just dislike the inhospitable planetary features. Yep. So if you don't mind, Director, I'd like to show you the plans we've made to make best use of those few star systems. So a bit more dialogue there, which ultimately leads us into the Planetary Building. Each planet has some cards on it which we can select, and we then, if the planet is suitable enough, the hazardous ones, obviously we can't build on those just yet. The ones that are buildable, we can select those and we can build on them. So we've got 3 hazardous planets and 3 buildable planets. To build in the hazardous zones we would need a certain type of technology. Now, what type of bases can we build here? Well, for now, we can choose some industrial ones. These will gather resources for us. And you can see that these outposts have a number of different buildings. Each building will take a number of turns to complete. So 3 turns in total to get that industrial outpost complete. We're also going to put a shipyard here, and we're going to put a research outpost as well. The research outpost generates science, which we can use to research new technologies to use later in the game. Okay, so let's just get out of that star system and back to the main galaxy map, and we can have a look around at what's going on for the rest of turn 2 here. Now you can see we've got some new icons over the star system maps here where you can enter the star system. We've got Diplomacy 1 as well as the ability to construct buildings. You can also see that we can upgrade. This will be the command station that we can upgrade to make it ever more powerful. As these are currently on the front line, it's probably a good idea to do this, although it will cost resources. We can see there 400 material, 30 rare earth, and 30 of our population will be needed to go there. We can also upgrade it again later after that, but we're not going to do that just yet, or we can't do it just yet at any rate, because this will take 3 turns to upgrade. The other star systems here have a lot more planets, as you can see. We're going to build a few more industrial outposts here because we want to make sure that we get those all-important resources. I think we'll also build a couple more buildings here maybe, but I want to be careful about how many resources we spend on doing this. Another industrial outpost maybe. What do you think? I think that would probably be a good idea. Okay, yep, we'll go with that. That should increase our resources quite nicely once they're all set up. Another shipyard as well, so we can increase our fleet size. There seems to be perfectly reasonable. Keep in mind that it's going to be 3 turns until we can actually make full use of all of these. And I won't go with the research station just yet because I think we've spent enough resources for this turn. Now let's have a look over in Moram. We can build more here as well if we want. We will go for another industrial outpost. Do we want 2? I think that's probably enough at this point. The Baby star system is barren, which I think means we can't actually build anything there, but we will upgrade the command station as well, just to make sure that we're in a good state for when the aliens inevitably come a knock-in. Okay, so now you've got a bit of a feel for things, I'm going to move through the video a little bit faster. This here is a part of turn 4. Technology is just open to us and we're going to research some of it. The Pegasus habitation protocol, which I've just selected there, will allow us to build improved settlements on planets. I'm also thinking about what other technology we would want. Mostly at this point I'm thinking that stuff that helps us with battles would probably be better. So advanced firing computers. This will unlock advanced firing computers and that leads us to the Pegasus pattern ship plating. So we're going to go for both of those. And let's close down research there. So there's a whole lot of different research things that you can get involved with. Some will help with ships from fleets improvement. Others will help with building improved buildings. And others still will open up other abilities when it comes to diplomacy. So a lot of research there that makes the game very much dynamic. Now, by turn 5, I was making good progress into the Pegasus galaxy. I'd pushed the Raw clan out of quite a few star systems, but in doing so, I'd revealed another faction, the Tomanian Empire down there on the bottom left in purple. These will turn out to be an important part of the story as we progress through the next few turns. Also, by turn 5, construction of my shipyards had completed, which meant that I could build a new fleet. So this begins with hiring an admiral. We're going to choose a suitable admiral here. Each of these comes with an additional capability. So for this example, they can increase damage of cruisers by 10%. This one increases damage of all units by 5%. So what do we want? Damage of cruisers by 10% or damage increase of all units by 5%. We're going to go with that one. And that brings us to this screen where we can add ships into that fleet. These will be constructed turn by turn. Now ships do come in tiers. The top 2 tiers there we can't construct just yet. We need to upgrade various things. So for now we're going to go with just this. We're going to use 4 artillery ships with some cruisers and some frigates. 4 of each I think. And you can see the number of turns it's going to take to complete this entire fleet. That's 6 turns in total. Fleet construction does come at a cost, but it's not too bad just yet. And again, at the top you can see the amount of materials that we are now gaining per turn. This is from all our industrial outposts. That's 500 units. We're also going to construct another fleet. At the top right of the screen you can see the number of admirals that we've currently employed. That's 8, and we can have a total of 10 available to us. Now with this second new fleet we're going to go with 4 artillery ships, 2 cruisers, no 4 cruisers. I'm just not sure which. Whether we go for the Eagles, yeah, we go for the Eagles, and then we go with 4 more frigates as well. So again, that's going to take 6 turns to complete that fleet. Now, as we move into turn 6, the balance of power within the galaxy once again shifts as we encounter the Tomanian Empire and they call us for an audience. They're none too happy with our presence here and tell us we best be careful and take no more systems and cause no more conflict. Unfortunately, we want the Bow star system because it's got an habitable planet and something that we're sorely lacking. It means we can build a settlement there and increase our population, but we can't do that without creating more conflict and taking that star system from the Raw clan, something that the Tomanian Empire are not going to be happy with at all. However, on turn 7 I decided to go for it and take the Bow star system, and well, it was a fairly easy task, although you can see my fleets are not in great condition after this particular battle. Now this is something you'll get occasionally, these type of interrupts and changes in story. So we won and we captured quite a big bunch of prisoners. This time the question is, what do we need to do with them? How about settling them somewhere? Some of them won't be a problem. Could we just pretend that they weren't prisoners? Keep them until we can exchange them. That's what we're going to go with. Now once you've got a habitable planet, things get a bit more interesting. Once you've researched the necessary technology and got a habitable planet, we can have a civilian outpost there and then upgrade that to a settlement. But we also need a governor. Click here to hire a governor for this system and upgrade this outpost into a settlement. The planet or moon must be habitable and the required technology must be researched. If the planet is colonizable, the settlement can be further upgraded to a colony. So here are the governors that we can hire for this star system, for this planet. As you can see up the top right there, we've got currently 0 governors out of a total of the ability to take on 9. So who do we want? I think not too worried at the moment. They all seem to have pretty much the same capabilities. Actually, no, they don't. 3 of them have no capabilities. This one does, so we're going to go with them. You'll also notice that on habitable worlds we have more slots available for construction. This means we can click on these areas, these slots, and build additional structures when and as we want. These can be similar to what we've already got, or if we've researched the necessary technology, we can have better buildings here. All of this will contribute to the overall effectiveness and capabilities of our growing empire. Now, unfortunately for us, perhaps, the Tamanian Empire eventually takes notice of our continued aggression. And this here is the Empress of the Tamanian Empire, none too happy about what we're doing. They say there's not a misunderstanding. You may go back to where you came from, and don't worry, you will be hardly missed. Or you can stay and see if you really are invincible. And that's pretty much it. They've been an empire for 1,000 years. During those years, we have faced dozens overconfident upstarts. And it turned out that none of them had what it takes to face us. I wonder if you will be any different. It seems then we've made an enemy of the Tamanian Empire, and the choice now was to continue being aggressive and taking more star systems, or slowly build our fleet and resources. Well, I took the medium approach here. We're now on turn 13. I've built up my fleet. We've got some assistance from the other human allies here. Fleet I'm now controlling, and we've got 3 separate fleets down the bottom. These are my strongest fleets. You can see their strengths respectively. We'll have a look at that just here as I select them. So 447, 403 and 652. These are the strongest fleets I've got. We're about to enter into the Tamanian territory and make our first move against them. The idea here is to strike hot whilst the Empress is nearby. Hopefully, perhaps taking out the Empress in the process, but also making a mark against the Tamanian Empire, perhaps giving them second thoughts against whether or not to actually continue threatening us. So we're going to end the turn there. You can see the progress bar where the other factions are now making their turns, and we're going to move into the staging ground of the Varroa system. Thankfully, I'd prepared enough here and had enough assistance that this battle went fairly smoothly. And that needed to be the case because we needed to move on to the Anabar system with the remainder of this fleet and, well, basically do 2 battles with this same fleet. First in the Varroa system and then in the Anabar system to really complete our plan. And as you can see, that plan is to eliminate or deal with the Empress, who should be present on the surface of Anabar 1. So here we are. This is everything that the past 14 turns have been building up to. And we're in the Anabar system within a Tamanian territory. Both sides have some pretty big fleets here, so I'd say almost evenly matched. I think we have the slight edge in terms of numbers, at least. That was the plan. But you can see, well, pretty much annihilating Anabar 1. That's because I went in with by any means necessary, and we're really striking hard against the surface of this planet. But they are certainly dealing some damage back against our fleet. We're not losing many ships at the moment, but they're certainly being damaged. I think the important thing here was that it was unexpected. And this was also unexpected. A large explosion there coming from the surface of Anabar 1. And it looks, unfortunately, like the surface of Anabar 1 is now completely decimated and utterly destroyed.
At that moment, we thought we had won, that we had everything under control. But we had set off a chain reaction inside the planet. We tried to pull the landing force back. It was too late.
So that's where I'm going to leave things. Hopefully it gives you a good taste of what to expect from the Pegasus expedition. Now, we've only scratched the surface of what is possible with the game, but right here I think you'll get a feel of where things are going to go. This is the system map as it stands at the end of that last conflict you saw, and yes, you can see the Tamanian Empire is absolutely massive, owning at least half of the galaxy. There's obviously other factions out there, and we are going to have to spread ourselves across the stars. For everything you need to know, do check out that link in the video description. Again, thanks to Pegasus Expedition for sponsoring this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.